You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
want to start, lead us into the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, Ashley. Lee, we're going to give us a few minutes, but you can sit there, and I'll address you in a few minutes. I got to do a few things before we get to you. Mark?
Make a motion to approve regular minutes for April 1st.
Second?
All in favor?
Wait a second. Bill has some things he wants to change?
Discussion? Yeah. Okay, discuss.
Sorry.
So, is there an echo today, Connie?
Try me again.
The second paragraph under call to order, the one that begins with Bill Wheeler,
What page?
first page of the minutes.
Page 106.
Yep.
So this had to do with solar, a study on the energy, but what I would suggest is that in the line, second line, the last phrase is to do a case study on the West Swanzey wastewater treatment facility instead of just plant, because there's no indication.
Instead of the word plant.
They're on the server. They were, yeah, it should be on the server. I just saved them on the server. Okay.
So in that second paragraph, the last phrase, to do a case study on the West Swanzey wastewater treatment facility instead of plant.
Okay.
Then 2 paragraphs down, the meeting convened, present were selectmen, Jim's not mentioned.
I didn't see that. I can't believe that. I read that whole thing today and I didn't see that.
On page 2, under new business, the second paragraph, the last line, adding there is money in the CIP capital reserve. And then last paragraph, last line, 25,000 by, it's not Hutter, it's Hunter.
And the only other thing that probably is not important, you mentioned other people present in the very first paragraph, other people present. In my knowledge, there are only 2 other people present, and they were Mark and Victoria Ames. At the fire station, yeah.
That's it for me.
Oh, right.
I'll work these on.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for catching it. That was the only thing I had, and I didn't think it was that important.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for April 1st as amended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the non-public sessions, April 1st, sessions 1, 2, and 3.
Second?
So are we approving the ones that Sue sent or the ones that you amended, Lori?
I think we should have a non-pub after to discuss what's included in them. If that's okay.
Was that 1, 2, and 3?
Unless
Yeah,
unless the
I was
board is
thinking of
fine
your
with-
amendments, but that's,
I was thinking of going with Laurie's, right?
yeah.
But that's okay. I thought that's what we
That's
were
fine.
going to
If
do.
the board is fine with that, then we
I'm
can.
fine with yours,
Yeah.
I'm just asking which ones.
I think we should, is
So
everybody
as-
in agreement that you saw Laurie's
Yeah.
changes? And I thought they
That
were
works.
all right.
I thought they-
So let's approve them then under the changes that Laurie made.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor then?
Aye.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good job, everybody. We're gonna move on to public input. Any public input? No? Okay. Lee, you're up at bat today. Welcome. Yes, it is. You're loud and clear.
I don't talk very loud, so hopefully you can hear me.
I can.
Loud and clear.
Anyway, I'm before you today for the cemetery. Been overseeing the cemetery since Public Works Director in 2000, so I've been involved with them that long, and took over as Sexton when I retired in 2016. Or so I actually took over before that, because when Francis retired, I took the job. So these prices that we have for burial lots, the prices that we have for burials, have not changed for some time. It's 2014 is the last time that you guys approved. So we're up here today to bring these up. However, I do not want to go to the City of Keene rates. I do not want to go to the City of Manchester rates for sure, because we are not the City of Keene, we're not Manchester. But I do want to keep them sort of in line with surrounding towns. So, as Jay pointed out, between the proposal, the sheet that I looked at and brought different pricing in for Joe and I to figure out what we were going to put in, you'll see something different from what's proposed here, and that's between Joe and I when we sat down to do this, which was going to go to you guys. So burials in town today, and we're just talking about the actual interments at this point. We're getting $350 for a full burial. This would raise it to $500. On weekends, prices go up because everybody's on an off day. So then it goes to $475 or $700. I can tell you I have no, for the most part.
Lee, they're confused because they're looking at the sheet where it says 6 and 8, and that's what we pointed out. It's 5 and 7. It's on the earlier page.
Right.
First page in the
Right.
back. Go back to
This
page
was just a
3.
worksheet that Joe and I
Actually,
used.
right after the minutes.
So this is the fees that we're
So am I
talking
looking
about.
at the one with the red or the one with all black?
Well, we printed it in black and white, but it's the page.
You needed to ask.
We're trying to save money, Jimmy. It's on the page right after the minutes.
So Lee, I'm wondering why we wouldn't go with the graph of 600 and 600 and 800.
All right, so you guys are looking at this one.
Just
Yes.
why we wouldn't go
All right.
with those.
This is what we're working with.
Gotcha.
But what's the logic of going with the lower numbers as opposed to?
That's just where Joe and I came, I hit it with 8, he hit it with 7. It's like, okay. We're trying to cover the cost of the backhoe and the crew that goes out and digs the grave. And then generally speaking, we refill by hand, a couple guys, 2 or 3 guys. Every once in a while, we will refill with the backhoe, but we don't like to do it because we want to make sure that everything gets pushed in. And what I find when you do it too fast, if you don't compact everything, you'll end up with washouts and stuff that look bad. I don't want the family to come back in a week and see an outline of where the casket was. So we do it by hand. So anyway, whatever you decide, if you decide the 6, what it has in this sheet. If you want to decide for that, that's your prerogative. You are the cemetery trustees.
If we bumped it to 6, would that extra 100 go into the reserve?
To be honest with you, I do not know where all the money goes.
We should have said reserve. We should have said the trust fund, would it go with that extra 100? If 500, 100 and a quarter is going into the trust fund, if we did 600, would 2 and a quarter go into the trust fund?
On the burials, see, I don't know how it works with the burials. When I sell a lot, so much of it goes into the trust. But when I collect funds for burials, I do not know where it goes. Whether it just goes into the general fund, I mean, I never was privy to
I
that.
didn't ask my question correctly, I'm sorry. I was just looking at the plots themselves.
Yep,
So
okay,
if $500, 100 and a quarter goes into the general cemetery
right,
trust.
25% of whatever the lot cost
Okay,
is.
so if we bumped it to 600, then it would be 100.
It would be more, yeah, yep, absolutely.
Sorry for the confusion.
So you can do whatever you want with the prices. You are the trustees, so this is just a proposal for you. When we come out of this, we just want new pricing.
So Lee, on this sheet, would you say this is what you're proposing, right?
Yeah.
The vertical sheet? You don't have the price of the lots on there. And so,
I sent that with it, but it obviously didn't get through to you, maybe.
On the next page?
oh, I'm sorry. Yep, got it. Yep, there it is. It's there. Yep. I apologize.
Okay,
And there's again, a difference in that fee from what it is on the
Right.
horizontal sheet, so.
and like I said, this is your ballgame. We're just giving you a proposal. I'll tell you where I came in with the sheet that you see here. I came into Joe with this, and Joe and I sat down, and this is where we ended up. So it reduced some, and it kept most of them the same. The only other thing that you would see on this is on the bottom, vault storage, it goes way up. And I don't know whether that will kill vaults, if it will kill the use of the storage vault or not. I've got 6, 7 people, I think, in this year. I haven't had a lot of people for the last several years. Foley's does not use us unless they're coming here. Fletcher's does, but less now. And Cheshire was not using us until Tristan sold, and then now they are, so.
What are we charging now?
Right now, we charge $75 if they're not a Swanzey or going to be buried in a Swanzey cemetery, and $50 if they are.
And that would go to 250?
That would go to $250 regardless who they are. And if we get pushed back, I guess I'd come back to you guys and say, hey, they're not going to come. But there are not that many full burials. I do 10 a year, roughly. It's pretty consistent. The numbers are we bury 50 roughly, and 10 of those are full burials.
What are the 40? What are the 40?
40 are cremation. Yeah, cremation is 80% pretty much.
Wow.
Didn't know that.
With the price, it's just been steady. It hasn't moved to the point where it's almost exclusive, but what it also is doing is when somebody passes away, I do not know if they're going to be buried. a cremation could be buried, but doesn't have to be. So that's why I don't see a rise in numbers, I guess, because some people might wait several years and then, yeah, I get them.
Well, we know we needed increases, so I'm fine with the increases. I don't know about the board is, what they feel about it. But, you know, it's been 12 years since we've done any of this, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And things go up.
Well, the price of fuel has gone up,
Fuel, employees, pay.
and employees, so,
Yeah, it has to be addressed. Are you have a problem with any of it?
Oh, I'm in favor of the graph pricing, actually.
You're in favor of
The horizontal page?
which
Now,
price?
that doesn't cover everything on the
No,
site.
but in terms of,
We're gonna make
The basic,
On the fee schedule,
Yeah.
on the
I'm
price.
just saying I'm in favor of that,
basis, so not.
Of this one,
yeah,
okay.
Yes.
but that's just me.
So if you guys vote that, then that's what this will show when I'm done.
And everything else, we don't really have anything to compare it to, so.
No, it's very difficult to compare apples to apples, because every town does it differently. I'll give you the history lesson since we have some new select board, but the town of Swanzey did not charge for lots for residents, for town-owned residents, for the longest time. In '96, that was rescinded because they fooled around with it a little bit to you got one free if you were a town resident. If you moved out of town, well, then you had to pay for it or lose it. That's kind of weird. You can't lose it if you've already got somebody buried in it. So it only worked if somebody wasn't buried. But at that point, Morgan came to the board and said, hey, we're running out of space. We need to do something. But lifestyle has changed too, so nobody buys, or very few people buy a family lot anymore because a family doesn't stay here. Families spread out all over town or all over the country. So you don't see the lots like they used to have where you'd have multiple family members all in the same lot. That's, that's the exception more than it is the rule. Nowadays, most people will buy a half a lot. A full lot was going over, a little over, close to $1,800 at this point. Most people didn't want to spend that much money if they knew they were just going to use 2 spots. And that's good too, because that saves resources, saves ground space for us to put more people in, so, yeah.
So does it make any sense to have a rate for Swansea residents and a separate rate for non-Swansea residents?
We talked about that a little bit. I'm of the opinion, and this is, I'll just give you my opinion. We sort of word things that it's for Swansea residents. You guys have given me the opinion, or you've given me the ability to make a decision on the fly, and you can rescind that. But I'm of the opinion, if somebody grew up here in Swansea and decides that they would like to be buried at home with their relatives and stuff, that's okay. If somebody's just, hey, I want to be buried in Swansea, I don't condone that. But I can tell you I've had 2 this last year that were not from Swansea and asked to be buried in, and both of those had family relatives that would have stepped in to buy the lot if I didn't sell it to them. So And I can't, I mean, we can do nothing about that. If somebody in town buys a lot and says, hey, I want this person to be buried in it, that's the way it is. They own the rights to who gets buried in it. So, you know, I mean, I look at it like this. I'm not going to encourage somebody to come here, and that's partially why we need to raise the rates. Because, geez, if I can get it cheaper in Swansea, let's go to Swansea. No, I don't want that. I want, you know, if somebody grew up here, if they want to be buried here, I'd like to accommodate that. But, again, you guys are the boss, so.
Okay, let's call make a motion that we'll accept the rates on the graph. Is everybody comfortable with that?
That's part of it. There's one above there as well.
These rates on the horizontal sheet, I'll call it the horizontal sheet, would then apply to the vertical sheets.
Yeah, just, if you want this one, just let me know you want this one, then I'll make sure this one's changed. I'll make sure she gets a copy. And if you want Sue, we'll get a copy. She'll want it.
The bulk storage is still going up to 250, so that's not on there.
Huh?
The bulk is gonna go up
Right.
to 250, so.
Yeah. Yep.
So everything that's not on this sheet stays as it is, and everything that's on this sheet replaces what's on this one.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about, right? Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the Town of Swansea Cemetery Department 2026 fee schedule as presented by Lee Dunham.
Second.
Any discussion? All in
that.
favor?
All right.
Okay. And that's these numbers.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
Can I ask Lee one more
Yeah.
question before we go? At the rate we're going, you said about 50 burials a year.
Yep.
At the rate we're going, like how much space do we have approximately?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I brought that for you. Bill and I talked the other day, and he was inquiring about space. I think it had something to do with the land next to Oak Hill. So I thought I'd give you an idea of what Swansea's done for the future of cemeteries, if you do not know. In 1988, at town meeting, the town voted to spend $75,000 for approximately 48 acres of land off of Route 30, 48
48.
acres off of Route 32, south of the current cemetery, behind Gene Belding's house. If you're not familiar with Gene, the big white farmhouse, just before the parking area for Honey Hill. That comes into play because it is 40, what did I tell you, 48 acres? Approximately 48 acres that's on the hill behind the field with a 50-foot entrance from the road. Guess where that 50-foot entrance is? It is the Honey Hill parking area. So on that side of the field, we all saw, I mean, I was there, I voted for it. Everybody said, oh yeah, there's a gateway into the field and it goes right through that. No, it's south of that. We had to create that. And it will let them sell another lot for another house that's there now. So we found out quickly that our little trail out to Honey Hill needed to move further south, had to go through the bushes to get it there. So that's, that's the future. I mean, 48 acres is, and we can't use it all. Yeah, there's two conditions. One condition, the vault has to be at least 200 feet easterly of the boundary. So if we put a receiving tomb up there, it has to be 200 feet into the property. which I don't presume that we would put another one in. I mean, we have one in 5 cemeteries. I don't see why we put a second one in, or if we did, we wouldn't need the other one. It would be easier to get to, the other one. And the second condition is that 50 foot from the easterly boundary has to be kept natural. No trees can be cut, with exception to that 50-foot entrance, to keep a buffer between the cemetery and the residences and Route 32. So we lose a portion of that 48 acres that way, and there's also a waterway in it that we lose 100 feet, roughly 50 feet on either side that has to be left natural. So it's wooded, it's going to take some time, it's going to take some expense, but we have it. That's that end. Mountain View, we expanded that in the 90s to include where we're currently operating, and we have pretty much another over half of that, probably 3/4 of that still to go, as far as actually setting it up to actually bury people.
When you say have that, how many lots? How many spots?
Oh,
100, 200, 300 ballpark?
well, it depends on how we set, this was all laid out for full burial lots. All these cemeteries were. And when they were laid out for full burial lots, we're talking 16-foot by 10-foot lots. And there would be, I think, maybe 10 to 12 lots in a section. What I did with the furthest to the tree line of Mountain View is changed that from full burial lots to cremation lots. Those are 6 by 6 lots. I forget the number, but it's gigantic compared to the others. You know, 36, 38 lots are going in there, so it's a whole different ballgame now. We sell I sold 17 last year. In a big year, I might sell close to 30, but I doubt that. I mean, it comes and goes. Last year was sort of iffy. So we have a lot. That's Mountain View. Now we go to Mount Caesar. That's one of our oldest, created when they started the town. That one's pretty much, we call it full. We reclaimed 2 of the roads in the addition to it. Most of those are just cremation lots because you can't get into them because there's all old graves all around them, so you can't get equipment to them. So we have some room there, but it's, you know, it's expensive because they're regular lots, but they're cremation only. When you go to Oak Hill you might think is getting full. I looked it up. We bought the addition to Oak Hill in 1950. At some point, I think I saw the price, but it was not very expensive at that point from the box shop. And that back strip of Oak Hill is, the dimensions on the deed are 251, 252, to 643 to 687. So somewhere in the 650-foot mark, and we've developed maybe 300 feet of that. We have a whole bunch toward the town barn in the trees that we can still go with that. I knew that was the case because the map was all drawn out, and the road that's in there and that goes from the top to the bottom, it's not on the map, it's in lots. So anyway, so I knew that had more room to go. And it does. But again, it would take, tree removal and all that stuff. So we have room there. Homestead, that's another old cemetery. That one's full, so. At Westport, we've got a whole bunch of room. So.
I was just dying to find out that answer.
We've got enough years.
We don't have to be like Prague, where the Jewish cemeteries are 12 people deep.
Yeah.
All right, so we made the vote, Lee, and we got a big agenda tonight, so thank you for coming. Do you have a copy of that? What you got there and that?
This that tells you about the cemeteries?
Yeah. Do I have that?
Take this.
Can I have that? Yeah, it's interesting.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
Lee, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you for bringing that to the
Sounds
board
good.
tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna, the agenda will change a little tonight because the Clark family wasn't able to show up tonight, but I'd like to fit Mr. Gamalo in there. Is everybody okay with that? Mike, can you come right up here? Both of you, bring up a chair, both of you guys. There you go.
Had a misunderstanding of what we do with sidewalks in West Swansea and our responsibility for these sidewalks. And so I wanted to clear up anything that is in your mind, but we're asking, and we plan to put a sidewalk into the, from the parking lot to the door of the church on Cobble Hill. And it's about 30 feet distance. And I think it's well, there's the door.
Yep.
And there's the road, and it's about 30 feet to that. And there's the door to the pantry, and that's going to be enlarged too. This is cars on with the things, that's about 30 feet to that door, and that's at the end of the building.
What was misunderstood? You started the conversation
What
with...
was misunderstood was that we couldn't build sidewalks
On private property.
on private property. We could only build sidewalks on town property.
They need you to talk through the microphone.
Oh, yeah, because there's people online listening.
Nowhere in the will of Frank Snow does he mention the fact we're just in charge of sidewalks and roads in West Swansea that need help. There's nowhere that says we just have to build them on town property. And we built sidewalks like this one across the street in front of the church. It starts down in front of Boulet's store and comes up to about the library. That's not on town property. And 4 years ago, we did the parking lot at this church over here. And we went 30 feet beyond the property line so that they would have asphalt in front of the church for a hearse or whatever, for the bride to get out of the Cadillac, whatever. And so this is not the first time or the second time that we've veered from just doing sidewalks along the road. And our mission is only, and we can only do sidewalks and roads in West Swansea. That's it. We can't go to Swansea Center, we can't go anywhere else. And so I just want to clear that misunderstanding up. And, we'd like to work
with the town and the road agent and the selectmen. But we need to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Well, I think you clarified a lot for us tonight, if this is what it is, because I wasn't aware of this. I was told that private property couldn't, so I assumed that was correct. And I assumed that sidewalks could go anywhere in the town of Swansea, up at Stratton Drive or whatever, but you're saying this is just for West Swansea, right?
That's what the trust is. The
That's
trust
what the
owns
trust- so you
roads
are-
in West Swansea, and it doesn't, it just states roads and sidewalks.
Right.
And it doesn't state town property, or it just states.
So I think the misunderstanding was that you aren't asking the town to do the sidewalk. You're not asking our road agent to build the sidewalk. You're asking for us to appropriate the funds from the reserve fund
There's no reserve fund.
okay, it's where the snow money exists.
Right, and it's
And the town-
private money, it's not town money,
So-
it doesn't come from the taxpayers.
So the town doesn't manage that money?
No, well, it's the trustees of the trust fund.
Right.
And how I understand it, the trustees of the trust fund have the jurisdiction of the Frank House Snow Fund, and that we answer to the trust fund, not the selectmen. That's how I understand it. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to,
That clears it up a lot.
yeah, but, and I do have a letter out to one of the trustees to find out if we can take the money from the snow fund to build a sidewalk on non-town property. And I have not heard back yet, but
I'm sure you can.
also they said that the trustees of the trust fund have the jurisdiction over how we use the snow fund money.
Is anybody on the board aware of this at all? Bill?
It's always been a mystery to me.
Yeah.
So
you-
let us know when you find out, because it would be nice going forward to know
You're
that.
educating us, so
But-
we're sitting here just
Yeah.
thinking, this is great that you guys come in, this is good.
What we used to do, and we're a little lax because we've been on the committee so long, probably we should be kicked off, but we would go and get a couple of bids, doing any sidewalk. We used to do 1 or 2 blocks, but we found out to do a stretch of sidewalk is a lot cheaper than just doing a few. And we fixed our program so that we were able to save money to do bigger jobs that we need to do to help the town of Swansea. I'd say we're helping the town of Swansea. If the town of Swansea had to pay for our sidewalks, this would be another whole different story.
What I'm
But they've
confused
never-
about is, why are you here? In the past, did you come here in front of the select board when I wasn't on it? I mean, why did this come to the select board now if you guys never had to? Or what?
I think
Why did the select board approve all
I
this?
think I mentioned it to Jay,
Yeah.
and then I think Mike talked to Bill,
It didn't
and
even belong here.
I think before Mike knew what was going on with whom,
It does to some degree, since we're maintaining them.
yes.
So, but in this particular case on private property,
We're
the
not
town would
maintaining.
have no responsibility
Right.
whatsoever.
And we're not asking, the town's not doing any work other than the snow fund will supply the money if the trustees say that it's okay that we can do it.
Right, and I think the confusion was, as I said, we thought at first that you were asking the town road agent to do the sidewalk.
Right.
And when we understood, both of us understand, that's not what you're asking.
Exactly.
And then we're confused about who auzes the release of the funds from the fund,
Yeah.
and that we're gonna find out, you're gonna
Right,
find out.
exactly.
And once we find that out, it's all gonna be straight.
Yeah.
Going forward as well. But I think it's great that you folks have the resources to take care of Swansea, West Swansea, and go for it.
And Mr. Snow just, he wanted to take care of the village of West Swansea.
Well, Gordy's already sent a letter to the trustees.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been working with Richard.
So you'll keep us updated anyway, so we
definitely,
know the
yeah.
final answer to this. So
Yeah.
in the future, we won't have none of this confusion.
Right. If he tells us that we can't,
We're gonna
can't use
eliminate
the money,
this.
then we will uphold his decision and.
Good.
If he says you have to come to us for approval, then you come to us for approval.
Definitely.
But I'm hoping we don't have to see you again. No, I'm
Nice meeting you.
This was great, thank you guys for coming
Thank you.
in. hopefully this will all work out, but we won't have this
I
confusion
think it's
no
a good
more.
cause because it's actually, it's a community pantry. So,
I know, it's a.
Yeah, we think it's
and
a,
right now,
Question that it's gonna be a good thing.
so it's serving the community and gonna benefit
They
from
do a
everybody.
lot,
and-
they do a lot over there.
we
with
want it
that
to happen, we
pantry.
just couldn't do it.
Yeah, we're just gonna do it legally.
I donate to it.
Yeah,
I know.
good.
And it's on basically public property because it's a church.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, thank you, Gordon.
That's all my Mike.
All righty, 2 down. Hi, Ashley. These, you guys are just, you're gonna listen in? Can you hear back there? Okay. Ashley, make sure that microphone's close enough so we can hear you, that everybody.
Oh, you can hear me.
So Ashley, we missed you on, the last meeting you were on the agenda and you got
Yes.
sick or something happened?
Unfortunately, we had an unexpected putting down of our animal at our house, which was a very hard moment for an animal that we've had as longer than I've had my children.
So all that happened last week while you weren't here is the gentleman, Neil,
Yep.
showed up.
Okay.
I gave him an opportunity to speak to the board, so the board is all updated with his side of the story.
Perfect.
So now we need your side.
Well, so perfect then, so hopefully that'll eliminate some of it. So
That's right.
when the CIP had met, we had talked about extending the fence along the third baseline. While they were talking with Kyle, and then down there again when I was talking with Nick,
Which field?
Coalfield, to address on the Mill Lane side.
For those who don't know where Coalfield is?
Yes.
could you-
So if you're coming up Mill Lane, it's gonna be that first field kind of facing towards the other ones with the large backstop.
The one closest to the road.
Yes, well,
Oh, no, 'cause
there's 3 of them close to the road on South Road side.
Oh,
But it's one of the bigger ones, it's a beautiful field, it's used a lot for all of our older programs and things like that. Neil had pointed out that extending the fence is not going to address what the issue is. The issue is expanding upwards an additional 10 feet above the backstop to prevent the pop-ups that are coming up and over. So working with Nick from Monadnock Fencing, we got a quote on that. I then gave you guys a breakdown of what we would be looking at for netting, for the sliding cable suspension system. Talked with Kyle, they're willing to work with us to get it up, because we've got the bucket truck and DPW and things of that sort. That number came in somewhere at 2,800, or 2,800 is about the high end of that number. We have 7,500 in CIP. While talking with Kyle about the fencing, it was brought up that the O'Brien outfield fence has been having issues. The kids' bats are just,
which one is O'Brien?
that is the one that is all the way in the back corner where the like bleachers are sitting in the hillside pretty much. On the other side of like behind the cook shack past the
The
road.
furthest up Mill Lane.
Yes, oh, well, they're on the backside of like the maintenance shed by the batting cages, on that side of it, more towards Put Lane. The kids' bats are just getting bigger, these kids are getting stronger. We had a few windshields get broken there this year, so we had talked about a proposal to extend the fence similar to how Cole's outfield fence is right now, as like a barrier to protect those balls that are flying. Obviously, that number came in way over what our CIP budget is. I gave a kind of breakdown to also include the dog waste stations. We are set to pay for the dog waste stations out of our facilities management fund right now. I proposed that we could take some of that money from the CIP and use it towards these. It's kind of looking to see what your guidance would be. Obviously, we can address fixing the coal fence. I can get the dog waste stations if you'd like them to come out of CIP, or if you would like them to come out of the facilities rec budget. And then, obviously, it breaks down the extent, for the expansion on O'Brien fence, we would need about $5,875 more in funding to address that cost. I did send all of this information to Kyle and everyone at Cal Ripken. If Cal Ripken was interested in addressing that cost this year, we could potentially put the fence up this year, or we can put a hold on it and take it to the CIP or different funding opportunities and look for it for next year. I was just kind of trying to tackle all of the fencing at once and trying to give you all the numbers at once for that. But if you're okay with the coal fence, we would love to be able to get approval for those funds so that I can get Monadnock fencing down there ASAP so we can get it done before their opening day.
So Ashley, are we certain that the 10-foot addition to the backstop on the coal field is going to be high enough? And is it tilted forward enough so that it catches the balls?
So this would eliminate the forward tilt, because currently the backstop is 20, current backstop is 20 feet with a 10-foot overhang. But then Neil had provided us with all of his trajectory breakdowns.
We saw that, yeah.
About how that extension up would be the best bet. Nick from Monadnock Fencing said anything over 10 feet is going to become unstable, depending on, we'd have to just put bigger piping, which then would be more of a cost. Personally, a collegiate and professional backstop is no higher than 25 feet. Our biggest issue is that we are not 25 feet away from the backstop with home plate, which makes that arc happen quicker than it would be if we were a little further away from that backstop. I think Neil is happy with the proposed idea of the 10-foot extension. It seems feasible to have it stay up and be safe and it be mesh fencing.
Is this thought with regard to Neil since last Wednesday?
He felt he hadn't seen you yet, so he didn't know what the...
Oh, well, he hadn't seen me because honestly, we had to put our dog down at 5 o'clock on Tuesday, and
Right.
it was a very rough.
The question is, since last meeting,
I have not
have you
spoken
talked
to
to Neil?
I have not.
So, because we got a different opinion about what he said here compared to what you're saying, am I correct?
Well, he said he didn't know, so until he knew, he was skeptical.
Well, yes, because I did, originally when I had gone and met with Kyle, I said, well, I'm gonna meet with Nick from Monadnock Fencing. I met with Nick from Monadnock Fencing and he gave me 2 different options, but I was waiting for the quote to come back. The quote came back to me Wednesday morning last week, and at that point, I just was unavailable to be at my computer that day and had spent all the information and I get it over to Lori the beginning of this week. I didn't realize I should have included Neil with sharing this information.
No, but you just said that Neil is happy with what you just said, and he doesn't even know, am I correct?
That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm questioning, what you just said.
Well, so what I'm saying is that our proposal at CIP was expanding the fencing along the third baseline. The proposal I'm giving to you guys is to extend it 10 feet up, because that's what I took away from the conversation with Neil last week when we were getting all of these.
Right, and he was worried, he said, he was worried that all you were going to do is extend the fencing on the
Yes, so I
basement.
am not proposing that
But
solution.
he also didn't know how high up you were going to go, and he was a little worried about that because, I don't think how high, no matter how high you build the backstop, somebody's going to put a ball over it,
Yes.
and that's just,
So I guess it also comes to you. Do you see a better, my solution was not what was the resident seeing being fixed. Trying to then come back to see how tall we can get it. Anything higher than 10 feet isn't going to be stable to have it be there for a long period of time, especially in
he
wind.
seemed to know that, and so basically, we were expecting him to get in touch with you between last Wednesday and today, and have agreement between the two of you that this is going to work, and I'm not hearing that happen.
No, I was unaware that that was a goal to be achieved.
Well, the third base netting isn't going to impact his property.
Right.
No.
It's just simply the backstop. So I'm in agreement with Jay. I'm also curious, was Joe DeRusso involved as our facilities director, involved in any of this?
He knew that it's a conversation, but he hadn't asked to be part of any of it.
Well, he needs to be, just in general, not
Okay.
just for rec, but for all departments, because his department is responsible ultimately for facilities and what's done to them.
Okay.
So he, in my opinion, would need to be brought into the discussion.
Okay.
Would it make sense for you to talk to Neil and maybe Joe at the same time and see if he's okay with what you're proposing?
What do we say, what would be a suggestion if he's not okay with the proposal? I'm just trying to make sure I can get this moving before their opening day,
When is opening day?
the 25th of April.
Ooh.
It's been just hard even to coordinate everyone's times to meet together. This is why I feel like it's been a 2-week process, kind of
So
collecting
none of
everybody.
this has started.
I feel like we've known this issue, right, since I came on.
Since
last
May.
year. Right. And we knew we had to raise the fence, and we talked about it in the capital improvement committee meetings, and this was the reason why, to, raise the fence, so to eliminate so many fly balls. Like Jay or Alan said, we're not going to stop every ball from going over the fence, but,
No.
and this is what the town had put aside, that the CIP committee recommended for this purpose. So I think, I agree with Bill, though, that Joe should be consulted just to make sure that, you know, he's in charge of our facilities and our parks, and he should certainly be a part of it. But I think
Well, the
consulting.
fencing is one issue, that seems to be approved. It's the backstop that I think is the more prevalent or pertinent one.
It's the biggest price tag, too.
And please, if you
And
ladies have any suggestions.
anything higher than that would add an increased cost.
Right. But
Are we putting our money in the right spot is what I'm concerned with? Are we not putting our money down the side, or should we put the money into the, higher in the backstop?
I think if we
I think that's the
don't fix
question
the
we need.
backstop problem, Jimmy, we're gonna have a landowner who's gonna be unhappy and thinking that we're not responding to his insurance needs. I mean, he's got vehicles that are parked there, right? And he's worried about, he's damage to his vehicles.
I will say, in the 6 years in this position, this is the first time that this has been, the first season that this has been an issue for us.
Well, last
He
year.
talked about it
Last
last
season,
year.
yes,
I
yes.
came to that select board meeting when he talked
There's
last
only
year.
so
Yeah.
far you can take it to with one person complaining across the
Right.
street. I mean, we're doing the best we can. If she extends it 10 feet, I think we've done our job.
Yeah, and honestly, that proposal was what Neil had suggested while we were talking at the
I think we
field.
need to answer to ourselves more and talk to our facility, right? Our director.
Yep.
And we have to make the decision, not working around Neil, meaning, I'm not saying not work around, we're trying to solve the problem, but we have to be logical.
Oh,
here.
absolutely.
And we have to say, we have to come to an agreement.
I think I agree with you, Jimmy. I just think that Neil needs to be told what's going on, and I hope Ashley will do that.
I can definitely reach out to
We
him.
can do that, Jay, you're right.
How long,
Courtesy.
how long will it take to build this? Can it be done before opening day?
Ideally, yes, according from Nick from Monadnock Fencing, once I get an approval. It all, so if you look at the quote that came in, you're gonna be looking at the 200, or the 2,500 number for the backstop extension. The goal is to remove that back tip along the first baseline and extend the poles up an additional 10 feet and tie it into the pole that's attached to the dugout.
And this is gonna be done with netting, not chain.
Correct,
not-
it would
not
be
metal.
1.75
So it's
thickness.
lighter, and
Yeah.
that's why we can do it, right?
Yes, yep, that's exactly right. And ideally, it's much
We have too
cheaper.
much weight.
And this
Yes.
is going up, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It would literally take that little edge that comes over on that first section on the third base side and extend it straight up all the way.
I mean, me and Larry said on that CIP when this came up, and it was us that suggested that we put this money in, and we pushed it to try to get as much as we could to solve this, and I think Laurie's right in what she said. We need to make the decision and use that money, and we need to do this.
And when I feel like, honestly, I've been kind of bumping a bunch of ideas around this past winter, trying to think about what is going to be the best way to address.
So going back to what Alan said, would it be, maybe you could go see Neil and say, this is what the board has decided that we're
Absolutely.
gonna approve, and just to be courteous and
Oh,
let Neil
absolutely.
know, so he can say, and I think that's what one of his arguments was, he wanted to be in the loop of it, so we will notify him what we're doing, right?
Yeah, I had no idea that he had attended the meeting, so yes, I can definitely make sure.
Has
Is
Joe
that what
seen
you
the
meant,
quote?
Alan?
Joe has not
Yes.
seen the quote for this, but I can send it all over.
Okay, he is on vacation.
Yeah.
Joe's
He did know
away.
this project was being proposed because it was part of our spring
So
project
what-
meeting.
But when Neil went to him, he said, I know nothing about it, talk to Ashley. So that's how we know Joe didn't know about it.
Because he sent me on the mission to get all the numbers together and let him know what it was going to look like.
Ashley, there's a lot here.
Yes.
Can you just briefly, we've got the 7,500, right? The backstop extending is costing us how much?
2,800 at most.
2,800. And then what's the other part?
So my proposal was to use the remaining funds to put towards the dog waste stations, as well as
The
putting.
dog waste station sounds very expensive. What are we getting for our money on that?
So ideally, what I quoted out is that we can get, I want to say 4 of them. Ideally, I liked the solar powered ones, personally, just because it puts a little light.
What's so special about a box with bags in it?
I think it's more of just the signage and then how expensive the bag refills are, because my quotes are based on a year's worth of like refills as well. I wanted to give us the full price of what we'd be paying to keep the bags in there and installing them and all of that. But ideally, we can get 4 of them for $1,600 at most, or about $1,000 on the cheaper end, and the $1,000 ones would potentially come with a solar light, which I think is very useful to try to deter people, or even to make sure people know it's there. But yeah, I did a lot of digging on those.
This seems very expensive to me, for little bags. It just is outrageous to me that.
Well, because it comes with the
We have
post,
to
the
spend
holder.
$1,000 on little bags when.
It comes with a
people
trash
should-
can attached.
Where people should be responsible
Yeah,
to
do you
have
have a
their
picture
dog
of
to
it?
bring them. and
She
we're
has a
spend-
picture of it.
It's gotta be elaborate, because I've never seen, I can't imagine this.
I'll be honest, it kind of
And
looks like we're encouraging people to bring their
I
dogs.
was gonna say, hopefully it'll make people clean up.
Citizens.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Mark?
I think it encourages people to bring their dogs. I'd rather have it not there, so people know a dog shouldn't be there.
Well, we haven't passed our facilities ordinance about the dogs can't being there yet.
So what is the total cost of this?
For the dog waste station,
Yeah.
ideally for the ones I'd like, $1,000 at most.
Oh, $1,000 will pay for everything?
For 4 of those, yes.
Oh, for 4 of those,
With the years of
with a
supplies.
year supply of bags? Okay.
And ideally, I'm looking at 4 of these, because I was trying to bundle them. We're talking 1 at Brown, 1 at AA Park, and then 2 down at South Road.
So actually, do people use the ball fields when we're not playing games? They go out and walk their dogs on the ball fields, right?
Absolutely.
So it's not just people bringing dogs to games.
No.
It's people bringing their dogs out to walk around.
Which is why we're trying to work on a field ordinance to address the dog usage on the field, because it is an ongoing issue. Nobody likes a
But
10-year-old slipping in
did
poo.
it stop after last year, it didn't stop?
I would say you guys haven't seen a decrease.
So you're
No.
telling me the kids go out there and they're still on the field?
Oh,
And do we don't know who's doing this, we don't know.
oh, I even have friends all over town that bring their dogs there, and I
'Cause
see it on a video.
I
and
was
I'm
a
like,
little set back with the guy said, Jimmy, this is ballpark in the summer, and it's a dog park in the winter. That was his exact words. And that's not what that is, it's not a dog park.
No, but it's one of the most conveniently located fenced-in areas you can get to.
Well, we need to put a stop to that.
I would love to.
somehow.
I'm not quite sure where we were at
Even
with
in
the
the
facility
summertime,
ordinance.
so are you saying when you guys are all gone at night, somebody goes over there with the dogs and let them run?
People are showing up after we leave, or they're there.
Been going on for years.
I just drove by the other day in the middle of the morning and there were people out
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
all over
Yeah.
the field.
To your point, Mark, it does kind of seem like we're inviting more people to do that if we're putting out, I mean, I know the point of the bag stations is obviously so that they'll clean up, but it seems like then it's inviting it, like, oh, we are a dog park.
Telling them that they're allowed to be there, and I don't think it should happen there.
Are there signs that say no dogs allowed?
There is not, because we don't have an ordinance that says there are no dogs allowed.
So to get onto the field, is there gates and stuff?
Yeah.
And so those are never locked?
No, because it's open to
So
the
they'd have to
public.
lift their dog over the fence if we locked them, and then they'd have to jump over the fence, right? Have we ever thought of maybe starting to lock the
Maybe
gates
there's
and
a-
make it a little more inconvenient? So what if they have one of them big greyhounds,
I don't know if that
they
puts
gotta
us,
lift over that fence?
I know, so at Brown, we can't lock property access because it needs to be open because of federal grants. I'm not 100% sure about South Road. I don't know how we feel about locking.
Maybe there's a place in town we can build a dog
I
park.
almost want to sit over in my truck and spend the night there and catch them.
You should see how many people come down and hang out there during their lunch break. A lot of people come down and play out their lunch break. A lot of people come down and hit golf balls. There's a guy who's really great at disc golf that comes down
How about a
there.
dog park next to Buster's Pizzeria?
No, I know, but yeah.
But Jay makes a good point. Maybe we do have a need for a dog park somewhere else, not at South
Yeah,
Road.
we don't want to get into
Yes,
that.
the
now.
dog
We gotta
park
stay
is
on
in
subject
Keene.
here.
Okay, say on subject, but
It's a
it's
beautiful
not,
location in Keene.
the ball fields are
You afford
not,
a security guard during the season and sit them there at night?
A dog park was in the proposal for the plan at Brown, when we did
Yeah.
the revamp plan.
Yes, it was.
It is, it was something that was very much asked for. It is very much a huge liability in my head.
But
But,
it
so
sounds
I
like-
will know that the dog waste stations, that came about per request.
So did I get my answer on, we got the backs up at 28, we got the dog things at
1,000.
1,000, and then how much is it for we're doing along the baseline?
If we were to do along the baseline, we're looking close to $9,600.
So that would be on hold.
Yes,
We're only gonna do the 10-foot extension, and we're gonna do the dog things.
yes.
That's all we're gonna do out of the 7,500,
Perfect,
right?
yes.
And we're
So
gonna wait
that's
to see
gonna
if-
cost us 3,800, and we're gonna have a balance sitting there.
Yep.
And we're gonna wait to see.
Perfect.
And you would go to Neil and say, this is what the board decided, we're gonna do the extension, with that, and then we gotta decide later down the line, we gotta figure out the problem down there with the dogs and that.
I honestly, I really feel like a lot of it will be addressed once we get the field ordinance approved. I've worked really hard on that with the PD for the last few years, and I think that's kind of it. That gives us our timeframes for access to properties, and really eliminates a lot of gray area that me and PD have been dealing with for different properties for the last few years.
All right.
And then you can see if Cal Ripken will help with the O'Brien field.
Oh, yeah, and I can 100% open that conversation with them, because even if it's maybe something we wait till next year and see if it can be readjusted at CIP.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
because there's no reason we should pay for all that.
Do you guys have any input on this? Are you agreeable with some of these things, or what? Or do you have disagreements?
No, I don't think there's really disagreements. I don't think we have it in our budget to, we didn't know that this was coming up to.
Well, before you say it, can you say your name so it's in the minutes? I'm sorry, sir.
Shayna Thompson. We didn't realize that there was an issue with O'Brien and putting that up. From the last meeting we had, Swanzey had, we were under the impression that that was something that you thought was a good idea or wanted to do, and that's fine. But it wasn't, we don't find that there's a huge concern. Yes, there's cars that get hit. We're at a ball field, that sometimes happens. We're not against it, that said, we're not against it. Like, I do think it'd be a good idea that, like, you're not, standing at a t-ball game with your back to that field and suddenly get hit with a ball. Obviously, best case would be that there was a fence there. But we don't have it in our budget to do that this year, and it's not something that's high on our priority list, to make.
So what made you come here tonight then? We had any concerns of what was gonna happen tonight?
No,
No, I'm trying to find out.
Yes, we heard that this was coming up and that somebody from Swanzey was supposed to be here, so therefore, here we are.
I gotcha. All right.
Thanks for coming.
It's great that you come. So, what's the board feel about, we move forward on the 10-foot, right? We move forward on the dog, right? And we stop there until we see what comes up, what bubbles up after that, and we deal with that.
The first two items on the sheet here.
We have a question?
Yeah, so looking at the proposals, actually, is there a reason that we got multiple quotes on the netting and everything, but only one quote for the fencing?
Ideally, we've always just used Monadnock fencing for poles. I can look into additional quotes for them.
So you're
I'm just
into,
thinking, like, most of the time, us as a nonprofit, we usually get a minimum of 3 quotes on anything that is like a larger purchase, and it seems like that would make sense, especially since the fencing is the most expensive part of this.
I can definitely look into that. It was just more of the turnaround time.
but we're not doing any of that right now anyway.
We are gonna extend the fence up on pole, and I can look into other vendors if
But I
anyone has.
think, on Ashley's defense, I think we've always used Monadnock fence, and she just assumed that we'll use Monadnock fences. They've been good to the town.
Well,
in the
Nick's
past, so-
well versed in that fence itself because they installed it.
And sometimes you need to be loyal to one company, and then they take care of you in the long term.
Great, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, I'm just wondering, like, since it's such a big expense that
Right.
we're expecting the taxpayers to pay for, or we're expecting, the small nonprofit to pay for, that maybe we should make sure that everything is.
So Ashley, if you report, maybe you get a couple more, just see if we're in the ballpark.
Absolutely.
It's right in the ballpark, and just
Yeah,
I see this quote from Monadnock Fence is only good till tomorrow. so-
ideally, yes, yep. And my plan is that Nick will be getting a phone call tomorrow morning as well, just to let him know where we stand with the project. They're also very good at taking that price and continuing to carry it as he understands the process that we go through to get approval of funds and things like that.
Okay.
I think you got good guidance from Shayna.
Yes,
And
yeah.
just in general, and in terms of the goal, the goal needs to be extended.
Yep.
In order to achieve that. With regard to the waste stations, what is the slash with funds from Cal Ripken? What is?
So ideally, when we had talked about the proposal, when we were redoing the agreement, we had talked about adding the waste stations and that if we were to put 2 down there, they were willing to pay for 1. This proposal shows that we could cover the cost of that. But I have that information in there because that was part of the conversation we had that led to me getting
Yeah,
pricing for
I think
these.
it was for the signs too that said no dogs allowed, because I thought that that's what we were going to be doing, but we were waiting on the,
Put up the dog stations and say no dogs allowed.
well, in the field.
In the fields, in the fenced-in area.
Got it, good,
Yep.
got it.
Because people come watch the kids and they have their dog with them. But clearly, we're gonna put in the fenced-in area.
Where are we with regard to the ordinance then? You mentioned you've been working with the chief for a few years with it, so where does that stand?
I had sent it towards you guys, the last that I had seen with it, back in November.
Okay, well, we'll find that.
And I can resend all the information. I don't know if the chief had sent in the schedule of citation with it as well yet. I knew that was a part of it. He was waiting from Keene to get information. I have all my ducks in the row on my end, but I think I'm kind of at a stop of, I really don't know how to keep pushing it right now.
Well, you just did.
There we go. I got 2 more things if you got a second.
Hold on, let's just close this out.
Okay.
So I just want everybody to understand where we're moving. You guys all set with any more input? You good with everything? You good with the, yeah? Okay, so are we, Mark, you gonna?
Yeah, what's the, how much total?
Well, wait, didn't we agree that she's gonna get additional quotes on the netting?
On the netting, but we're gonna approve the fence, the extension on the backstop at 2,800, and we're gonna, and did we already approve the dog?
No.
No, so do you wanna approve those 2 things? Can we do it that way, Larry, or what?
Yeah, we would have to just say where the funds are coming from.
So wait, I thought we just agreed that Ashley was gonna get check on additional,
So we need to have a limit on what we're approving, right? So if she gets a lower cost, then could we approve it with the understanding that she's gonna look for bids and say no more than this is what we're authorizing, or should be?
I'd feel
Why
better
can't we separate it?
if Joe had a,
Yeah, that's true.
had
I
some
forgot
input.
about Joe. All right,
So you're not willing to, you wanna put it off?
I thought that's what we had agreed to.
Yeah.
but the problem we have is here, we'd like to get the extension put up, and she's on a deadline.
No, they've already, that's what I was saying, but Shana made a good suggestion that we would typically go for multiple bids, and that it could potentially push the goalpost out a little bit further in order to get those bids. I think she's representing the taxpayers. I totally agree with her on that.
I'm confused. Can you explain that?
I was just asking, like, would you normally get multiple quotes for a large purchase like this? And I think that she has for the netting, right? I think I saw.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't do was monadnock fencing, just because he was the only one I was able to get immediate when we get down to the property.
Do you want to just hold off a week and?
I'm sorry. There were three different voices coming at me, and I have a hard time with one. So maybe it's my misunderstanding, but I thought Shana brought up a good point. We typically do request multiple bids, and if anything, it would support monadnock fences role that we've had, and that could potentially push it out a week or 2 in order to get the netting done. But at the same time, isn't this what we want Neil General to look at as well? Didn't we want that?
I don't think the board decided that his input, whether he liked it or not, would change our opinion on what we were gonna do. I think he was just gonna be notified what we were gonna do. I don't think we were waiting for his opinion to make this decision, were we?
I don't know.
Were
but
you guys?
I can do whatever you would like me to do.
It seems to me that there's Joe DeRusso, and potentially multiple bids.
And what I'm weighing in my mind is whether it's more important to get this ready for opening day, or whether it's important to get it done right and at the cheapest cost. And so I don't know, that's what I'm weighing. How do you feel, Mark?
All right, so if this gets pushed out a week, Ashley, right, that means we have a meeting on next Wednesday, right? So in this week, if we push it out, you would get some more bids for the fencing. We would notify Joe, right?
Yep.
And we would tell Neil what we're gonna do. And then she would come back and we would make the official vote, right? And then if we did that, could you still get it up in time for opening day. It's tight, but we
I
could
was
do
saying, that
it.
gives us a week and a half, I would just have to make
If we-
sure schedules
If
would
we
be
could,
allowed
we'd
for
solve a
that.
lot of problems if we approach it that way.
Yep,
Okay. Are you
I
good
just,
with
I just know
that?
that week and a half turnaround
Okay.
time could be very tight.
Okay, so this is the plan now. We're gonna push it off to next week, Laurie. And you're gonna go and you're gonna get some more bids on the fence. Notify Joe what we talked about tonight and Neil. And then you're gonna be on the agenda for the following Wednesday. And we're gonna make the vote, official vote, and we'll have the motion all lined up, okay?
Perfect.
And if there's something does come up, can you notify Laurie, so Laurie can put something out there and ask us or whatever during the week?
Yeah.
If everything seems like it's gonna go through, we're fine, but if not, notify Laurie.
Absolutely.
Joe's
That
on
sound good,
vacation,
everybody?
Joe's on vacation, so he's not gonna be able to go see it, but he'll get it outlined to him on the phone.
Yes. Yes, that's
Or an
right.
email.
So who's gonna do that? You, Laurie? Right, because she asked you.
I don't prefer to call my husband's boss on his vacation.
I can forward the email, I can't promise that he's gonna look at it.
Yeah.
He told me to text him if I had concerns about Wilson Pond, so
Yeah.
I text
He
him.
calls me all the time too, but you could just send the email like you said, and I'm
Yeah.
sure he'll look at
Yeah.
it. Joe's that type.
Yeah.
He goes on
I've had-
vacation, but he
I've
follows
had
me.
several conversations with him about,
Well, and I feel
and
like
I think if he had any concerns, he would have brought them to me.
me and Joe have also chatted about this, and I think it was more of like a, go figure out how we're gonna address this and let me know
See
type
what,
kind
see
of
what the
moment.
board wants to do.
Yes,
That's what he'd say.
yes, that's,
Okay,
Yes.
is the board okay with that decision? So we're gonna move, right? Okay, we're all good, Ashley. That's our plan, all right? So you know what you gotta do?
yes.
We know what we're gonna do, huh?
He has other stuff he wants to go
Oh,
over.
okay.
I have two more things just really quick that I'd like to ask for approval of. So the score booth at Brown
Is that what she's
has
talking
been broken into again.
No, no.
I would like to see if you guys have any issue with us.
Hold on,
sorry.
Ashley, for
Yeah.
1 second. What am I missing? then?
If we're going to make a decision on these or push it off. Because like Mark suggested, that we not put them up.
Bill's talking about the dog things. Mark brought up a point of that we're putting them up and we're telling we're allowing dogs. My opinion is they're gonna bring dogs to the game. I think the signs are more important to say no dogs inside the fence area, but what do you guys
I
feel?
think that makes a lot of sense.
As long as the
I-
way stations are with signage that says no dogs inside the fenced area, I'm fine with it.
Well, I think, I mean, I don't know, these guys know the field more. I feel like the more signs along the fence line, the better, right? Right where the access points are, maybe?
We have signage at the access points. One does need to be moved on Cole, just to accommodate the new
You have
dugout.
signs there already that say what?
What, do you know the specific wording? There's like the dog, clean up after your dog, there's a sign. It's the clean up after your dog type sign, because we can't say no dogs yet, because we don't have the policy in place for that. But we do have a fecal ordinance control where it's a $50 fine if you're caught not cleaning up after your dog. So we do have signage up that states that information. And we have that there and at Brown.
Okay, wow.
I just, signs are not the answer always because people don't read, or they choose not to read. But I think that as long as we are making it obvious that we want these stations to be used outside the area. And if somebody has their dog inside the area and bags it up and then brings it out to the dogway station, then problem solved. But, so it's not that bad. So I'm for it.
You're for it.
Yep.
Alan, are you for it?
I agree, yeah, signs keep people out, but if we have the dog stations, hopefully they can use that to clean up the mess.
One less excuse.
Are you not for it, or are you for it, though?
I'm for it as long as we pick up the ball with the ordinance
Yeah.
and get that implemented.
Mark is not for it.
Who's gonna empty the, you are?
Yep. That's the plan, because then I can hold the supplies and make it easier to keep them stocked, especially in the off-season and things like that.
So is Ashley gonna be the one that
I'm
picks
not
up the
quite sure.
ball
I think I'm
on
gonna gauge
the
based on
ordinance?
kind of just monitor
Would
them
that be
weekly,
public
but then
works?
also to let you guys
She
see.
indicated.
Lori, who's gonna push the
Just to
ordinance
let you know,
to,
'cause I can always come, my parents
I
literally
think I'm gonna have
check
to
things in the
find
dumpsters
ordinance and,
when I empty them and things like
I don't
that.
know,
can you try?
yeah.
For
And
us?
if not, I'll find them.
All right, okay, so
You're saying
I
the
think
chief
you
is
got
not for it.
outvoted here, buddy.
No, Mark Lavelle is not for it.
I was gonna say, I was never really kind of for them, because I always believed we always
Yeah,
have
we
trash
got three guys
receptacles
that are
everywhere,
for it right
but
here, I think you're. but that's
we can be
all
on the losing end of that one together.
right. Okay, so did we solve that problem? So now we all know what we're doing, right?
Yes,
So you've got a couple other things, now start with the other thing you have.
perfect. Score booth over at Brown Memorial Field is the lovely little tower that sits behind the home plate dugout. Really serves no purpose since our scoreboard has been broken for quite a few years. Is a continuous spot for vandalism. The children broke into it again. The door is now broke again. I was wondering if you guys had any disagreement with the idea of just removing the structure altogether. We're ideally already looking at a plan to revamp the property. It's already in disarray. It's been completely spray painted. The electrical's ruined inside of it. The siding's starting to rot off of it.
Do you know what she's talking about? You see?
Yeah, no, it's right behind the scorer's booth, it's just.
How big is it?
It's just a little, like a tower you walk up and do like, and you would stand to oversee to watch and announce the games and things like that.
And it's not worth repairing?
It wouldn't be because our score booth doesn't work, and ideally the plan would be if we're going to touch the property, we're reconfiguring the property. So ideally, if that project was ever to go through or we were to start redoing things, it would eventually come down. I'm looking to kind of just keep the kids out of the space.
Now, there's one other point of view, though. I mean, if you leave it up here, then you know the kids are gonna vandalize it, you can just, and not other things, so you just,
I think you threw this by Joe, and what was Joe's answer to you?
Joe's answer was to do not do anything without the select board's permission.
That's all
Yes,
he said.
he told me to call Josh. Josh said $600 for a roll-off, depending on how much it weighed. Ideally, it's all wood.
$600 for a roll-up, where
Yep.
will that money come from, your budget?
Yes, yep.
And then who would actually dismantle it?
I'm hoping Public Works, but if you give me a sledgehammer, I have some unreserved anger that could probably be used.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Like, it could be a team-building activity.
Fire department, burn it down.
A little too close to a flagpole.
It'll be all right.
I haven't physically seen it, so
I can, if you'd like to see some indoor inside photos of it.
Ever coordinated with Joe?
From the latest vandalism episode.
Sounds like it makes sense to get rid of it.
why don't we leave it to Joe's decision? Okay? Why don't we
Joe
have her-
agreed with me ripping it down, but he
Why
didn't
don't we
want me
have
to
her
touch
say
it.
that if Joe thinks that it should come down, he can take it down, how's that?
that's
Excellent.
that's
Because I
fine.
haven't seen it.
And they can
That's
send us a plan of how they're gonna do that.
Perfect.
I like the idea of Ashley with the
That's
sledgehammer.
what you want first,
Well,
before they take it.
I'm sure he'll
Smart.
notify
I wonder
us
if we
how
could
can do it.
sell swings with a sledgehammer
Ashley.
for $5 and pay for
Yeah, I
the
know, right?
removal.
So Ashley, so you're gonna talk to Joe,
Yep.
and you're gonna say, Joe, the select board said they're gonna leave the decision up to you, but if you make the decision to tear it down, could she please give the plan how it's gonna be taken down and taken away to Laurie
Perfect.
before it gets done? Is that good, Laurie?
We can do that. And then also, one of my other CIP things this year was replacing the deck at Richardson Park. We have $35,000 in CIP. Joe had Paul and Angel take a look down there. He quoted me at $12,000 to $14,000, which is well under our $35,000 that we are set aside for the budget. Talking with Joe about that property, we had suggested that should see if we could take some of the funds for the porch and respray the parking lot down there. I don't know if anyone's been down there recently. The lines are extremely faded, which then just leads to parking mishaps and traffic configurations when camp is happening and things like that. And I just would love to be able to have like a more designated area that everyone can see and somebody's not like, is that a line? Can I park there? Type thing. That was his suggestion with the funds. It would be, he got a quote from Minkler, yep, for $1,850. He had already gone down and looked at it. And Joe was hoping that we could get some of the funds from the CIP deck to put towards that to do before we open the property this spring.
All right, so you got approved, in CIP, we got 35,000, because that's what you asked CIP for 35,000.
Yes.
And now that Joe looks at it, he's saying it's only 12.
Yes. Also, I want to say, I think the $35,000 was for Trex decking, And we've kind of
Yeah, because.
not wanting to go that direction just for how warm it can get. Like, we have a lot of bare feet that tend to be around. I know my parents have it at their house, and we cover the deck in carpet because it gets very warm in the summer.
Yeah, so the only concern, Board, to all you guys that I have about this incident is that we went to CIP with $35,000 bid on the, not a bid, but a quote. And I feel we have to be more careful on going there, because now she has $35,000 that the taxpayers put into CIP, right? And the job was only a $10,000 job, right? So where did the quote come from for $35,000, and why is it so much different today?
That was something that Stefan and Joe had worked on, that and the roofing
My
costs for
understanding
those.
that Joe wasn't involved in this, that Stefan came up with this quote on his own, and that's why I feel that Joe needs to be involved in any of these quotes in the future, because there's an extreme lot of extra money here, and we need to be more careful.
I think a lot of that money is the Trex. The Trex cost so much money.
No, price it out.
Okay.
Pressure treated in Trex, it doesn't make that much difference.
Ideally, I presented
checked
the issue, I showed the photos, and then was given a number, just because,
I'm just saying, we gotta be more careful on, that's, if it was 1,000, I could
No,
see, well, we're talking about 20,000.
I hear you.
You know, $20,000, right? And now, it's not fair to the taxpayers that we're gonna take that money and just spend it other places, right? That weren't approved, right? And that's a lot of money she has now, you know? I wanna see her use some of it, but I wanna make sure that we're not just, we gotta be more careful in the future, you know?
Is that a solid quote?
It was a quote.
Yes, it is from Joe's team.
Okay.
Oh, the second quote.
well, and I don't think the first quote that we took to CIP took into consideration DPW doing any of the labor either.
Yeah, so we made that mistake, but let's not, all I'm trying to get to is we gotta make sure, Laurie,
In the
that
future, yeah.
we have Joe involved in these quotes too, so we get closer. Because if this happens again, the taxpayers are gonna say, hey, what are we putting all this money in the CIP for, and you don't use it, right? I'm just trying to nip something in the bud that happened. It was an accident, actually, and I'm not getting it.
Oh, you know.
It happened, but I just want the board to understand that. We need to watch that in the
I
future.
think a big disconnect happened when Jasmine left and we handed over the facilities to Joe, because Mike had me doing most of my
Right.
projects, and then we've kind of shifted the way we do it, and Joe and me are both trying to figure out how we're navigating that together, because we're both kind of doing the same things now that I have done
I
already.
just don't want to see this extra money become a fund that we're going to pick at all year long and buy this and do that with taxpayers' money, which these projects weren't really approved. We have to, am I correct?
You're correct, but
You're correct.
it would have to be approved, and it would be it's a capital reserve, so.
Yeah.
it's
My plan would not
a
to be
blank
to do
check.
that at all.
Well, she wants to take a little money off of the lines
For the
in the
lines.
parking lot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
We could return the money to the taxpayers if we have money left.
Jay, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that if a lot of this is because Joe is now doing some of the labor, DPW is doing some of the labor, we have to be careful on these quotes to maybe find out ahead of time whether he can do that, so we can get a more accurate quote. Because as we know, when Joe's using DPW staff to do this work, a lot of projects around town are a lot cheaper. But can he keep doing all that? Does he
Yeah,
have the
because
manpower?
he's saving our town quite a bit of money. And me, Bill,
Yeah.
and Sly, we complimented on that year that he did a lot of work for us, Jackson. Look at the town hall,
Yeah.
all the carpentry work that we would have had to bring people in, shingling the little roofs, putting decks on. That was huge money that he saved our town, and I think
Right.
Bill and me
And
noticed
So,
it.
so what I'm saying is, so you're right, Jim, that we just have to, in the future, build
Yeah, right,
Joe's
Laurie, if we
potential
had to charge
involvement
him
into
for that,
those
we would have
quotes.
been.
Yeah, I don't, Joe's never been part of the conversation with my CIP budget before, other than occasionally asking him for an input on something.
So let's go ahead in the future to be sure that he's
Yeah,
involved.
I guess anything building related should go through Joe.
And that's all I want to clarify
Yeah,
tonight, that we fix
good
that.
point.
You know, it just, and actually, it's no.
Oh, no.
Don't think nothing of it, it's just we have to be careful as selectmen here that we don't let that slip between the cracks.
Yeah, and I do know that 3,500's been sitting there for a few years. I put it in there the first year I was here.
Right. Okay. So let's go back to, do you want to spend some of that money on doing the lines in the parking lot?
And I will say, that was Joe's suggestion on getting the funding for that.
I think that's reasonable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What's the total amount we're gonna use?
$1,850 was the number Joe gave me. Granted, I have yet to actually see physical quotes. I just have text messages with numbers in them.
We'll do it next week.
Yeah. Why don't you do that? Why don't we do it, you submit it, and then we'll do that next week with all the other stuff, okay? That makes some more sense.
We get to
Do
see
you
Ashley another
want
week.
multiple quotes for that as well? I don't know usually how the
Not in
lining
the line
process.
work, right? We're okay with that. That's
You can
not
just
many
send
people.
me a list of the items that you are proposing,
Okay.
and then the funds that they're coming out of.
Perfect.
You okay with all that?
Perfect.
We get to see Ashley another week.
There you go.
Well,
Let me just confirm I'm available next week. I can make that, I should be able to make that.
taking notes on all these things there?
Oh, I am, and I just also frantically,
Because you gotta have all your ducks in line next week.
Got 2 phones.
I do. And I actually, if you're, actually, can I just leave this with you to review? At our evaluation, we
I
had
think
talked
we have it.
about,
What do you got it from?
I haven't, this was something I sent over today. You guys had talked about how you wanted to kind of see a breakdown of our sponsors and programs and
Oh,
stuff.
this, we have this.
Oh, you
Actually,
do?
we have
I
this.
printed
Lori
it
gave this
out
to
for
us.
them.
Oh, perfect. I was gonna say, I printed extra copies in case you did it. Sweet. So yes.
I think I saw a donation in there from the pizzeria.
Yes, 2 donations are in there from the pizzeria. But yes, that gives a full breakdown of all of the events, our revenues, our numbers, our sponsors, our donations, just between now and the end of March. I will say, if you were at the Easter egg hunt, we only had 184 kids registered last year. 267 this year.
This year?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Wait a minute. You just went from 100 and what?
184 to 267.
What happened?
I think we run a really well-planned event.
But you increased it by 25%?
Yep, yeah. Bill's attended
How does
every
that-
year, he's watched it grow
Is
from a
that a
very little
good thing,
event.
Ashley, or is it gonna be a challenge?
I think it's fantastic.
But are we up for the challenge with that many children?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
We're staffed and.
Oh, yeah. Well, that event runs beautifully. Interact, as James knows, stuffs all of my eggs. All I do is I divide them out into totes. Interact shows up, they throw them all out in the fields. It's a 1-hour event. Kids register, they take their photo with the Easter Bunny. Interact helps with all of it.
It runs like clockwork.
It does. Every 10 minutes, an Easter egg hunt touches
Bill's
off.
granddaughter got a whole bunch of eggs and, everyone was happy.
She distributed a whole bunch of eggs.
She did. That was very awesome that you guys
You did
came
a
down
great
and
job.
helped.
Your team was
Yes,
very well performed.
yes. It runs like a well-oiled machine at this point.
It's amazing to see all those kids and all those parents.
And we had, how many Interact kids did you guys end up having?
Oh, we had at least 12 or 15, something like
Yeah.
that. But
Almost 700.
just to understand that the 4 to 6-year-olds are on this big field down there, and there are 1,000 eggs out there, 1,000 eggs. How long do you think it took them to pick them up?
5 minutes.
Close. About 7 minutes.
Yeah, barely, yeah.
And the 10-plus group had 550 eggs, and they were gone in 1 minute.
Oh, yeah.
On my watch, 1 minute.
Parents get really stressed because we do every 10 minutes, and they're like, am I gonna have enough time to get to the other field? I'm like, yes. Yes, you are. This is gonna end in 3
I
minutes.
thought this was something, that's why I worded it that way. Now I understand.
Oh, yeah. It's a great event.
And it's worth coming to see just for fun, to watch the people, the young people enjoying themselves and the parents and all that
Get
stuff.
there early.
If
Yeah.
they're
Any
early.
footage of all this?
There is an album up on Facebook of a bunch of photos that we did snag. I do have a parent who's like filming some things, and I'm waiting to see if he's gonna share some of that footage with us. Because it'd be cool to kind of get some reels and
That
photos
would
like
be
they've been doing at
awesome.
the fire station up and things like that.
Yeah, that would be
That was good.
Not that technology good though.
All right, Ashley, I'm gonna have to ask you that we're gonna end this so we can move
Nope,
on.
you need to have me end this because I am late to get a kid.
Thanks, Ashley.
No, thank you. I will see you next week.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
New business. That put you up, Mark. All right, thank you.
You don't do that one.
All right, yeah.
I move to approve the abatement for map 228, lot 8, as recommended by the town contract assessor, whatever that name is,
Bernice?
Bernice Consultants.
I think I agree with that. I didn't sign that. That's one I didn't sign because I thought we were going to hold off on abatements till the meeting, so.
Do we have a second?
I'll
Can I hear a
second it. I'll
second?
second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I'm just pointing out we need to sign it before we leave today.
It says that.
Who did that?
I never gonna read that one.
This is one of those wetlands ones.
Oh, yeah?
Gotta see more of those.
I move to approve the slate of elderly and veteran tax exemptions as recommended by the town consultant assessor, Bernice Consultants.
I second that.
No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Keep going on.
Or did you do B?
Did he do B?
Assessing tax abatement.
I thought that's what we did. We didn't do A.
What are you talking about?
This one here. We did current use, we did the elderly.
I thought we didn't do current use. I thought we did the abatement. We did the abatement bill, not the current use.
We didn't do the current use?
No, we skipped that.
Oh, I thought we did the current use.
But the current use is part of the consent agenda.
Oh, it's 7A.
Was that,
7A.
it's,
Oh,
it
you're
is
looking-
part,
you're
it is
looking
part of
at
the consent agenda. Part
Oh,
of the consent
7A,
agenda.
yes, then.
No, you're looking at the agenda. So we moved the first agenda that went out on last Friday. We moved the current use under consent agenda, because that's where it's always been.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Sorry, Mark.
No issues.
No big deal.
Yeah, it's just the agenda that goes out on Friday is subject to change.
All right.
So where's B?
Where's what?
Where's B?
B, we approved.
B, we just approved it.
That's what I said I didn't sign because I thought we were going to read the
I'm
application.
just saying, on the agenda, where's B? We went from A to C.
Oh, no, I thought we approved B, and then we approved C. We approved two things just now.
I
Yep.
don't know which agenda I'm
B
looking
is-
at.
I'm looking at the,
B is missing.
The first page.
B is missing, because I forgot to
That's
change
right.
C to B.
We were from A to C. All right, we're all on the same page, Mike. You go ahead.
On the old business,
Old business, yep.
I move to authorize the
Do
withdrawal.
you, do you want me to explain that one? Okay. That was real quick. That was just what the board had approved back in the fall for the building permit software that you guys gave the approval for, and this is just the invoice that is just coming in because they allowed us to wait until April to pay it to make sure that everything passed in the budget.
this is a yearly cost? then?
That's a one-time annual. There will be an annual cost too.
But not that.
Not that,
Not that much?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to be sure of.
yeah.
And how has it been operating?
It's not fully operating yet. They're still working, might be another 2 weeks or so before we get it up and going.
Ready?
This has had to do with Chris and all
Yeah.
this new thing, right?
Building
That we-
permits and.
that we're
code
excited
enforcement.
about. And he's
Yeah.
going to have an open house on it and the whole bit, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I move to authorize the withdrawal of $14,364 from the Town Hall Information Management System Expendable Trust Fund for the building permit software from GoGov that was approved at the December 17th, 2025 meeting.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I bring up one old business?
Sure.
Lori, do you have an update on the TAP grant? The TAP funding and
Not yet. Julie, last Thursday's meeting was more about the bridge, but she said she will have something for us. She was just working with the other state reps, going over all of the design information that was sent with all of those increases in there. And we're hoping to schedule a meeting within the next couple of weeks.
who will the meeting be with?
just the same team that we've been meeting with monthly. Julie and Joseph Bika from Hoyle and Tanner, probably Joe, I think, usually hops on there, Stefan and myself.
Has there been any indication as to what entity or which people interceded to add that new requirement that bumped the expenditure by,
Double.
yeah?
That was all presented by Hoyle and Tanner, and I think we will have a chance to ask Julie some questions as far as what are we, are we required to do this, or, you know, because there were some things, we sat down with Mike from the rail trail and kind of went through the list of items, and like he pointed out, a lot was increases were like the fencing. I don't have the amounts in front of me, but the fencing.
Sidewalk and curbing, a lot of things that just seem ridiculous.
Yep, so we're gonna have the opportunity to kind of go over all of those with Julie, and, you know, see if they are required, because it is a federal project, so we may be mandated to do, you know, to certain specs, and they talked about the drop-off being so high, and so you have to have a fence there, but there wasn't a fence before, so, there are just certain things that we need clarification from the state.
What happens, what happens if we can't do the project?
If we can't afford the project.
Well, we wouldn't have another $200,000, I think it is.
Right.
So it would be would it just go flat?
That's a good question.
Wow. That's serious.
Will Kowalczyk be a part of that discussion?
Mike?
On the call with Julie? Not normally, but.
Well, this seems reasonable, since they're the rail trail committee. I mean, he's the chair of the rail trail committee. Should have some understanding. Maybe has some background that could be helpful.
Yeah, we could do that.
And he should certainly know questions he might ask about why this is.
Yeah, we have all those questions, Stefan and I, and we're
Yeah.
gonna.
It would be good to invite them, I agree.
Yeah, we can do that,
Be helpful to understand.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount more money. It's crazy.
All right.
Thank you.
Do you have a little update for us today?
Oh, you know what, I think I forgot to print the schedule. Jimmy and I went over just the schedule for the
No, I
next
thought
couple months. I know, I didn't.
Yeah, because these dates are gonna be around down here, right?
Yeah, but
No,
no,
the
these.
29th is gonna be.
Yeah,
fine.
so what Jimmy and I talked about yesterday was, I had originally had going through April every week, and then switching to every other week, because that's typically what the board does, through the end of October, and then it's budget season, and then we'll continue, we would be on weekly meetings. So I think the schedule, I can send it to you guys, but it was basically to start after the April 22nd.
Right.
We would skip the 29th,
Then it would
and then it
go,
would go to the one in May. So we would switch just that
so it
one.
would just be every 2 weeks right after that.
Yep, every 2 weeks, and I can send out that schedule to you all
Please.
and bring a hard copy.
So after the 22nd, we're gonna go every 2 weeks.
Why
Until budget
are we
season.
doing that?
Huh?
What's the rationale?
To go.
I
every
thought that's
other
what we
week.
did last year.
I don't believe so. It was usually summer that we did every other week. But
Look, Mark mentioned it, didn't we, Mark?
Yeah, apparently, you guys started late last year, and I didn't know why, but I was under the impression that we were gonna go every other week, and then we continued on.
What, you,
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if stuff popped up or whatever, and that's why you
Most-
continued to
Most
go.
towns after town meeting would go back to their normal every other week schedule.
well, give me reasons why you don't think we should.
I think there's a great deal of work that's going on. We've got just the example tonight with regard to Ashley and bringing Joe more and having a clearer understanding just of that one issue of what's involved. We typically have department heads coming more regularly than they have this year. I honestly don't recall that we went every other week in May. I thought it was more summer, and then last year, for whatever reason, we did go longer, every other week. But that's,
So are you saying that you would like to see it go every week to the end of May and then go to 2 weeks at the end of May?
well, depending upon what we see for pace of business. But for example, it seems reasonable to me that we would want to make sure that department heads are coordinating with Joe for their facility upgrades somewhere in the June, July period, no later than, because then it goes to CIP. So that in conjunction with a meeting that we had earlier with the department that we're going to want to continue to facilitate and work with. I don't know.
What makes you think we can't do that if we go every other week? Still fulfilling all those things that you just said, why do you feel that we couldn't handle that in every 2 weeks?
Maybe we can. I was elected to serve, and I wasn't elected to take time off. So I think in the summer, that's reasonable, but I think the rest of the year, but that's just my opinion. You're on the other side, Mark's on the other side.
I'll be here whenever I can, so, you know, I'm going to do a
When you said I was
travel.
elected to serve, I was too, and
Yeah.
it sounds to me like you're saying that we're doing this, I'm doing this, I'm saying this because, is it needed? If it's needed, I'm all in. When we come up in a meeting, I'm in, I'm all in. I was elected to serve too, but if you look at all the surrounding towns, it's a normal thing that the select boards meet every 2 weeks. I've looked at many towns and they meet every 2 weeks. If you feel that we need to, if you guys all feel, I'm in. If you guys want to decide to meet every week, I'm in. But the only reason I said this, I thought it was normal, and I thought that's how it was. I mean, I'm all right with it. I just assume.
Well, my opinion was the same thing, that I thought that it was normal to meet every other week. And like I said, last year, it seemed like, okay, we're gonna keep meeting, and I kept wondering, when's this gonna change? And then it seemed like stuff kept popping
Yeah,
up.
by no means I want
We
to,
had
I don't want to fulfill the town's needs. I don't want that to happen. You know, if we need to be here, we need to be here. But that's why I'm honestly asking you, what makes you feel that we won't fulfill our job if we don't meet every week? That's what I'm asking.
It's not like everything has to be set in stone. If we needed to meet, you know, we can call a meeting at any time.
And that's part of what we did last year. We had so many special meetings that would not have been necessary if we'd gotten back into our schedule. But you've got an example tonight that if we were on a bi-weekly basis, now we've got a special meeting next week because of just what happened. And again, I can't sit here and say that we've got a lot going on, but we've yet to get out of here before 7 or 7:30. And that's on a weekly basis. If we're going bi-weekly, what are we going to do that's going to keep us in that same time frame and not be 9 or 9:30?
And I'm just worried, you know, Lori's got a lot to do between this meeting and next meeting, and,
Every other week would be very helpful.
okay, but then there's going to be even more for you to
Because it's
do
like
in that time.
But you have more time to prepare
Seems
for
to me,
that.
Jimmy and you could talk and see if there's enough to meet, and we sort of block out every Wednesday, but if we don't meet on Wednesday, Jimmy calls the meeting off and says, we don't need to meet, something like that.
Oh, this wasn't something I just figured, you know, I thought this was, we did this last year. Am I correct, Mark?
Yeah, no, we did, but it was, again, I don't remember what.
I
it started
probably
late.
wasn't good with the dates, but I know we met every 2 weeks
Yeah, it
last
started
year.
late.
And I knew it was the summertime, so when we come up with the schedule, I thought that was just right. So that's all I'm asking, you know, where are we
But it would
going
be
wrong?
helpful for people to plan vacations and stuff too, and trainings.
Because,
and-
you know,
I know
if
you
the
have some
board feels they
trainings
want to do
coming
that.
up.
Yeah, I'm going to be
in.
away 2 weeks, 2 Wednesdays in a row I'll be away, so. Vacation.
You let the voters all know that.
I
That was
know.
prearranged.
Last July was prearranged.
There's no question we have a lot to accomplish this year. And by no means I want to shut that up, but all I was looking at,
But one thing that we did do was when there was a 5-week month, we typically skipped either the last one or the third one. So we didn't meet all 5 times.
Mhm.
Well, I'm a new kid on the block, and I
Well,
don't
we got
have,
2 more meetings before we make any decisions, so why don't we all think about it, and then we'll come up with, we'll design it then, we'll talk about it more.
See where we are at the end
See
of
where we're
April.
at the end of these next 2 meetings and see.
what I was gonna say is just that I'll defer, because I don't have a good sense for what the schedule, the yearly schedule of business is. So I defer to you guys who are more experienced about what's needed.
Yeah. I don't have as much experience as Bill, I don't, but I will say that I thought this was normal, that's all I can say. And that's why I'm honestly asking, why can't we fulfill our job with every 2 weeks? You know, all I'm saying is if she has the agenda, right? So if there's not an emergency, right? Say there's no emergency, Laurie's gonna help do this agenda, and we're gonna have all our duties in the 2 weeks that we're gonna solve, right? The only thing that would cause us to have to meet in between there if there was an emergency, right? So your daily things would all be on there every 2 weeks, and we would vote and we would do it. Billy brought up this example tonight. How often is that gonna happen? I don't know.
Like you said, we can think about it next 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's do
Well,
that.
typically,
Let's
she
move
would
on.
have been here last week, so we would have done it last week, but, and Joe would have been here.
True.
I
But
mean, the
anyway.
bigger cities, even Wyndham, Londonderry, all the bigger cities are every other week. And they're probably doing a whole lot more than we're doing.
Can't believe
With
that.
more
I don't believe
staff.
that.
With
We're
more-
doing so much
With
more.
more staff.
All right,
I'm willing to do, I'm gonna go with the majority of the board here, what they feel, because I do not wanna hold back the town, but I just thought that we could handle it every 2 weeks, so.
Correspondence.
So what are we doing? We're gonna bring
We
back,
got 2 weeks.
we're gonna bring back the meeting schedule in 2 weeks?
yeah,
Or talk about it more? Okay?
yeah.
Yeah. All right, correspondence. But there is something there, isn't there?
Keen wastewater.
It's about the tour on the 16th of April,
Yeah.
open house. It's well worth attending if people, it's fascinating. This really is. It's a very clean facility.
What, ours?
This is the Keene,
The one at the airport.
Oh, we're gonna go to one of the airport?
well, we can, it's an open house that they're putting on.
Oh, okay.
It's open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., so you can choose the time you want to go.
It's very well run.
And we don't all have to go at the same time, because that would be a meeting.
So that's just whoever wants to go goes, right?
It's open to the public.
So, I took a little tour of ours the
Did
other day. That was very interesting. I went through the whole thing with Rob. I met Rob because I didn't meet Rob. So I asked if I could go meet Rob, and I went over there, and he took me all through the whole place. I watched every lagoon, how it worked, and he walked you through it, and then he asked me if I'd take a drink of the water that's coming out at the end, and I said, go to hell. And then he offered me like this, and I said, I don't trust you, you can have that. And he started laughing. But it was quite interesting, so it was good.
There is none, there's nobody here.
Yep, nobody here for public input, and then.
I have a couple things I just wanted to bring up. At the Conservation Commission meeting, we had our one public visitor, was the woman who's in charge of the Old Homestead Garden Club. And she mentioned that there are master gardeners in town. And to keep your master gardener certification, you're required to do community service, which means you might design a garden bed for the community as part of your community service. And I just wanted it to be on our radar that we have people out there who would be loving to design, not pay for, but design a garden, say, next to the fire station or some other building that we have. That this is a resource that we have in town that I didn't know about. That would be
Design
nice.
and plant, right?
And would be in the plants, not only the layout of it, but what plants would go there. And that we might,
Are we talking, what kind of garden? Flower
Well-
garden, vegetable?
Yeah, whatever.
I think whatever we
the
want.
community-
I think if we want something that's good for insects and pollinators and stuff like that, or something that looks pretty, or whatever, we could ask that the design be.
Should be a perfect building to do that.
Yeah, so it just, whenever we have a project, we might want to think about encouraging whoever's planning that project to tap into the old Hempstead gardeners and the master gardeners. And the second thing, last year, I asked Lori, who was too busy to do it anyway, to call the Fish and Game people about why Wilson Pond is, the boat launch is on their website is limited access. And what's limited about it? What does that mean? And could we get it changed? And I called last year, Fish and Game, and I was given a runaround. I asked what was that, oh, somebody else puts that stuff on the website. Who's that? Call them. No, you got to talk to so-and-so. And they sent me back to the first person. So by that time, I was filled up to here with it. And I felt that maybe if you folks would authorize me to do this on behalf of the select board, I might get a little bit further and say, I'm calling for the select board in the town of Swanzey. Our public boat launch, which we own the property of, is listed as limited access. Can you explain what that means, how it got to be that way, and whether it can be changed? And the reason for this is, I'll remind you, is that when I called the people at DES about helping us with cleaning up the pond, the vegetation in the pond and stuff like that, so, oh, we can't work with private ponds. I said, no, the state owns this pond. I said, well, the boat launch is limited access, which means you're a private pond. So I just want to get.
So if they took limited access away, you're saying we'd have a better chance for them to
Maybe.
come in and help us clean
Maybe.
the pond?
Now, I can understand limited access at Swansea Lake because it's limited to
But what is the
to
definition of
town
limited
residents.
access?
It's limited to town residents. I don't know, Jimmy, and that's what I'm trying to get, and nobody will tell me. So I thought maybe if I called, not as a private citizen, but as a member of the select board, representing the select board, I might get somewhere. And the reason I asked Lori to do it last year was she was a town official, but she was incredibly busy getting herself into town stuff, and it never happened. So I took it on myself to call as a private citizen. I'd like to try that again. But I'd like to have you authorize me to speak for the select board in answering those two questions. I wouldn't go any further than that. I'm not going to ask them to make a change. I'm going to ask, how would we make the change if we can make the change, and what would the implications of that be? I don't want to rush into something that might harm us in some way.
I have no problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it either.
I don't see any harm in it. I think you're gonna get farther by saying you're a select.
I'm not holding my breath. I think I'm going to get the runaround again, but I think it's worth trying, and I thought it would be part of my
Use your power.
my due diligence. But I can't speak for the select board unless you authorize me to do so.
I think consensus works.
All right. So the last thing I want to update you guys all on is our police department. It was brought to my attention that we're losing a police officer for quite a long time, Tabitha. Would it be non-public?
Probably reputation, so probably.
If it's
Okay.
about personnel, wouldn't it?
Okay. So then let's do it then, so I can get you guys updated. Thank you, Bill, for that.
We good?
Anything else?
Make a motion to go into non-public.
And second?
Roll call.
Here.
Tempesta,
Aye.
Buckler, Crowe.
Yes.
Thank you, Kai.